Hi, I'm Clayton Lukens, and I did Journey Theater for about 10 years. Okay, so we have the first one, the Google search. Where is Clayton Lukens? Where is Clayton Lukens from? I'm from Camas, Washington, and we did many of our shows for Journey just in the general Southwest Washington area. Next one. Okay. Where did Clayton Lukens go to college? I went to University of Arizona in Tucson, Arizona, and got my BFA in musical theater there, and I loved it. I came into it in the fall of 2020, so it was a little rocky at the beginning, but overall, I made like the best friends ever and incredible mentors. Yes. Okay, next one. Where is Clayton Lukens performing now? I'm currently on tour with the Book of Mormon. We're traveling all across North America, Mexico, Canada. It's been a blast. Okay, last one. Where does Clayton Lukens stay when on tour? I stay in a variety of hotels, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Some are very fancy, some are a little less so, but we have a great time regardless. Cool. Next one, next Google search. How does Clayton Lukens research a role? Well, for this show specifically, they had a pretty good onboarding experience where they educated us just on the history of the show and the history of the characters and what they're based off of. I did a lot of personal research online because the show's been running since 2011, so there's been many iterations of all of the roles, including the role I understudy. So there was a lot to go from, which was really cool. I try to research roles as I can before auditions. Sometimes I have more time than others, but usually I like to scour YouTube and find different performances. And my drama teacher from high school always said the best actors steal. And so sometimes I'll see little moments in the way people say certain lines, and I'm like, I love that. There's no better way of doing that, and that's the way I go forward doing it. Next up. How does Clayton Lukens like being an understudy? It's incredibly exciting and so scary. I carry around my notes in my bag everywhere and lots of water and electrolytes because it can happen at a moment's notice. There's been previous understudies that go on in the middle of the show or have 20 minutes notice that they're going on, which is spooky, but like really exciting because you're just shot out of a cannon. All right, next one. How does Clayton Lukens handle nerves? How do I handle nerves? I make sure I'm hydrated because I think that does help a lot, and I make sure I have a good hearty meal before the show because without that, it's easy to get nerves or you get lightheaded and are completely out of it. Yeah, and I try to make sure I feel really confident in what I'm doing before I go on stage because if I don't feel confident, that's a really easy route to get nervous. Okay, and the last one. How often does Clayton Lukens get a day off? We do 8 shows a week, and we often get the Monday off. We usually don't perform on Mondays except on special occasions, but sometimes we are traveling on the Mondays, so going through airports or taking the bus and just try to get good sleep on the plane and keep drinking water. Yeah. My favorite thing to do on my day offs is I play board games on my iPad a lot, which is fun, or I have my Nintendo Switch, and just kind of ways to debrief and get away, or I'll call my friends back in New York and see how they're doing. Just ways to separate myself from the show, even for a couple hours, because 8 shows a week is demanding, even as much as I love it. Sometimes on tour, we get what we call a golden day, which means there's no travel, nothing. We get the whole day off. And recently in Denver, a group of us went zip lining, which was crazy. And the altitude was really high because we were up in the mountains in Colorado. And that was a blast. Sometimes we go to museums or go see a movie together. Okay, next Google search. What is my most used app? It's Either we have an app called Master Tour, which lists all of our call times and everything we need to know for our travel days. That's my most used app for work, but my other most used app is probably my Catan board game app on my iPad, which sometimes I'll play before shows or just back in my hotel before bed, just to kind of, you know, get away from everything for a sec before we really got to lock in for the show. What is Clayton Lukens' warm-up routine? Now, this really varies because we're doing so many shows a week that sometimes I have more time than others in between dinner. I steam for my voice. I use a nebulizer as well. And we kind of all just roam around the theater and warm up, whooping and singing whatever song is stuck in our head. And that's kind of the routine of it. I do some octave things sometimes, especially in situations where I'm rehearsing for my understudy role, that I have to do a more extensive warm up for that. Whereas in the ensemble, I'm singing harmony and I'm singing high, but it's become really comfortable doing it 8 times a week because singing is a muscle. And so my body gets used to it. And maybe we don't have to warm up as much as I would have used to, but we always make sure we get a little warm up in there before the show. Next one, what is Clayton Lukens' coffee order? I actually don't drink coffee. I know. I drink tea. I hate it. I don't like tea that much, but I drink it for my voice. I also love a good energy drink. I know it's terrible for me, but sometimes before the show, we got to dance for 2.5 hours, and yeah, you got to spike that energy up. What is Clayton Lukens' favorite Journey memory? I think I have 2. My first favorite was doing the Music Man Jr. when I was, I think, 15. And that was one of the first formative experiences where I was like, oh, I can't do anything else. Like, I have to do this. It's the full send. And then my last Journey show was doing Newsies in 2019. And that was really special because a lot of people I grew up with doing Journey, we were all like adults, and getting to kind of reunite with them and do one more show before I headed off to college. What is Clayton Lukens' dream role? This is such a good question. Growing up, I actually always said my dream was to do Book of Mormon on tour. That was something I always told people, and it kind of fell into place. So that was the dream role, but now I don't know. When I lived in New York, I saw lots of Broadway shows and found lots of roles I resonate with. But the industry is so fast moving and there's always a new thing. And I like to say that my dream role is whatever I'm auditioning for at the time, to really throw myself fully into that. I've always wanted to perform in the show Cabaret. I don't really have a role specifically in there. There's a few I could fit into, but I love that score. I love that script. A music director I had a few summers ago describes it as the perfect musical. It's really one of those quintessential staples in the musical theater canon. So that's definitely a dream show. Yeah. What is Clayton Lukens' favorite audition song? Oh my gosh. Nowadays, the musical theater industry is really into pop rock, so I have to go in with a pop song. I've been singing Have You Ever Seen the Rain by Creedence Clearwater Revival a lot. I've been doing that, but if it's a musical theater one, I do And They're Off from A New Brain, which is a William Finn musical from the 90s. What is Clayton Lukens' What is Clayton Lukens' advice to theater students? Perform as much as you can. On a small scale or a large scale, take every opportunity. When I went to University of Arizona, I got really invested in working with the film students and their short films. Some were great, some weren't, but we always had a good time, and it's a really good way to branch out by just saying yes to everything you can and that you have the time for. One thing I really loved about growing up in Journey was that there was so many opportunities to perform. You were taking classes and maybe performing on a smaller scale in showcases at the end of it. But getting to do 3 shows a year back to back, maybe if you didn't get the part you wanted or your audition didn't go as well, there's another one in like 2 months. So there was always time to improve, which is great. My answer for people that are on the fence maybe about pursuing this professionally is that contrary to popular belief, you can still do other things and still have other interests while pursuing theater. And I think it's really important to have those outlets for yourself. And you can still balance that while having such a love for performing all at once. And it's really hard out there. And just not to get discouraged, maybe when people don't care or don't want to invest in a piece you're really proud of, that you just keep going and performing songs you love and performing things you love. Because the second you don't love it, it's like, well, why am I here? My answer to what parent committees my parents worked on in Journey. My mom did kind of a smorgasbord of things. She did costumes for Music Man, and that's the notable one I can remember, which was really fun to work with my mom and be trying on costumes that my mom found in the costume shop here. But she did an array of things while she was here, which is really cool. My answer to goals and ambitions going forward in my career is to continue doing projects that are challenging myself. Joining the Book of Mormon touring cast is probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my career, and that's been incredibly rewarding, challenging me in ways that I've never been challenged before. And just making sure I'm finding projects that I love and finding ways I can love the ones that maybe aren't always my favorite, and finding things about that I really care about and want to invest myself into. Some specific goals going forward that I have for my career is I would love to work in film at one point because I did a few short films in college and had a blast being on set, but that's totally a different animal from stage performing. Of course, for stage performers, Broadway's the dream, and that would be so exciting. And getting to live in the city and perform at the same time would be something I would love to do post tour.